In time before time, there was only shapeless chaos, swirling, churning nothing, everything presiding over a permanent dark. Out of that dark, two children formed, Night and Erebus, the deepness where death resides. All else was void, and so it was for eons to come. Then, from the impossibly vast terror of roiling form, a new being came to be. Out of night and the depths of death sprang love. And once there is love, form begins. And Gaia, Earth, comes to be. But Earth cannot exist in void and chaos indistinct. So Earth bears forth the firmament, the stars and heavens that will eventually house the gods, and Pontus, the great sea. And the earth and the heavens together brought forth life. Horrible, monstrous life. Three primordial beings as large as mountains emerged from the world, each rearing 50 heads. They crawled across the ground with their great bulk, and as they passed, the seas churned and the earth heaved. And as they looked about with their 100 eyes and felt with their 100 hands, the world shuddered. They were the chthonic things who, by dragging their unthinking mass, carved the oceans and thrust up the mountains. With them, three other beings were raised, the Cyclops, the wheel-eyed, each having one enormous eye as large as a wheel in the center of their vast forehead. They too were gigantic beings, looming over the land. Thereafter came the Titans, powerful and massive, the first creatures with which humanity can begin to relate. But the firmament, which had brought forth these creatures with Gaia, was disgusted by the 100-handed beasts, and though they were his sons, imprisoned them deep within the earth. Gaia writhed in pain and with fury at this treatment of her sons, and called on her other children for aid. Only one of them, though, Kronos, the first among the Titans, was bold enough to oppose their father, the sky. For him, Gaia formed a great adamantite sickle and bade him lie in wait for his father. And as the sky came to mate again with Gaia, Kronos leapt forth and dealt him a grievous blow with his sickle. And as the sky bled, the drops it scattered on the ground created another race of monsters, the giants, whose stature was fearful to behold, and the Furies, the Erinyes, whose task it was to hunt down the wicked and punish those guilty of blood crimes and the breakers of oaths. When Kronos cast his father's flesh into the sea, from the foam rose Aphrodite. Thus, with the wounding of his father, Kronos became the master of all that was. He imprisoned the Cyclops and re-imprisoned the 100-handed ones, bringing peace. He ruled with his sister Queen Rhea, but after a time, he learnt something that would disturb that peace. From his mother and father, he discovered that, just as he had overthrown his father, one of his children would overthrow him. To prevent this prophecy from coming to pass, he did what any logical Titan would do in this situation. He devoured his children, consuming them so they would not threaten his reign. But in time, Rhea, his queen, called upon Gaia to help her devise a plan so that her children might live. And that they did. The plan was simple. When her sixth child, Zeus, was born, in place of the baby, Rhea gave Kronos a stone wrapped in a swaddling cloth, which he swallowed whole. I guess his highly discerning child-eating palate never realized the substitution. In time, Zeus grew and returned to enact vengeance upon his father. He became Kronos' cupbearer until one day he slipped Kronos a poison, which made him vomit forth his brothers and sisters. With his newly regurgitated siblings at his side, he then rebelled against Kronos and his Titans. He freed the imprisoned Cyclopses and the great primordial beasts with 50 heads and 100 hands. The Cyclopses were great smiths and forged for him thunderbolts to use in his war with Kronos. The 100-handed beasts hurled great boulders, 100 at a time, at the Titans. For 10 years, the battle raged. But at last, the Titans are overthrown. They are imprisoned, cast into Tartarus, the bleak pit far below the ground. All except 3. Atlas, one of the chief generals of the Titans and the strongest among them, Zeus made hold apart the heavens and the earth to keep Gaia and the sky from returning to their primordial embrace. 2 others alone escaped Zeus's wrath. Prometheus, named Forethought, wisest of the Titans, and his brother Epimetheus, or Afterthought. Due to Prometheus's wisdom, they had not gone to war against Zeus, and so Zeus let them remain with the gods. But the world was not yet at peace, because the giants took up war with the gods. And this was in the Age of Heroes, when men born of gods and mortal beings walked the earth. Heroes who were nearly as far above man today as the gods themselves. And of these heroes, Heracles took arms with the gods, and with his bow slew the giants. Yet there was one more horror that awaited the Olympians. For Gaia was yet pregnant with one more child, Typhon. This was the greatest of the beasts she ever bore, with 100 heads, and snakes coming out of its shoulders, all flickering with flame along their dragon's tongues. One that would feel right at home on a metal album cover. Excuse me. Something in my throat. It spewed fire and laid waste to all around it, and was nearly the ruin of Zeus. For when they engaged in battle, he was near evenly matched. But having mastered the thunderbolts, he burned the serpents' heads to ash, and turned to cinder the giant frame of this new monster, taming the world, and at last bringing peace. And with this peace, he turned to Prometheus and his brother with a task: to fashion the men and beasts of the next age, for the Age of Heroes had faded from the world. And that, my friends, is just half the story.